Ready? Are you ready?
I think so.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to the Confetti Girls. This is Lisa Devlin.
Hello.
She is a wedding photographer from Brighton, and I thought today it'd be really fun to get her on and ask her some questions about wedding photography, because who better to help with this conundrum than a real life wedding photographer.
Okay.
Do you want to just do a little intro for our viewers who might not know who you are?
Everyone knows who I am. Okay, so yes, as Kat said, I'm based in Brighton, but I've been a wedding photographer for like 16 years, like a really long time. I shoot all over the UK, probably quite alternative, really, very laid back kind of weddings, that's what I usually do.
We went on Twitter and on Facebook and asked if anyone had any questions for a wedding photographer, so we have loads. So let's get going, shall we? So the first question was, how can you find a good wedding photographer in your area?
Okay, well, first of all, I'd probably say don't necessarily need to get really fixated on just your one area, because most photographers that I know in the UK will travel. In fact, they quite like to, because they get to see other parts of the country, and so don't necessarily fixate too much on that. I would say kind of the obvious things with wedding photography, like if you go to Google, you will get 250 million results for wedding photographer in your area, so it's maybe not necessarily the place to go. I've always thought that blogs and magazines were a really good way to go as well. So have a look, if images are standing out to you that you really like, have a look the photographer up and then see if you like the rest of their work. Yeah, I think sometimes it's better to have someone who's an expert in the industry already help you and guide you. So for instance, I would imagine that people watching your YouTube channel are already fans of your blog, and they're probably already on the kind of alternative side. Mm-hmm. So there's that first filter in place, and you've already got rid of 200,000 photographers out of that huge list.
Yeah.
So then to see kind of which ones you're most drawn to. So I'd very much base it on style rather than location. So I feel like when you get to their website, they should help you out. So they should be kind of directing you towards the portfolio of their best and the latest work, the blog posts, so you can see maybe some weddings at your venue or that are similar to your venue or a similar style to your wedding. So possibly, if you're going down the festival route, they should be able to show you some of those. And then look for, if you really like the photographer and you want some more reassurance, they may well have access on their website. My galleries are open, so you can see full galleries of an entire wedding and what the client ended up with, rather than just the kind of best of the best of the best. But if they're not open on their website, ask. Any photographer will let you see those. It's a big financial investment, wedding photography. So, you want to make sure that you are going to get everything that you feel you want. Mm-hmm. And that might go a little bit even beyond what you and your partner want. So, for instance, if your parents are contributing to your wedding, or if your parents have got expectations of photographs that you're not bothered about.
Like the group shots.
Yeah. Nobody comes to me saying, oh, we're so excited you do group shots really well.
But everybody needs them.
But everybody kind of needs them. And, it's not going to be the thing that when you come home from your honeymoon, you're really rushing through the photos to see the groups, but they really do gain more gravitas, I think, as you go on. I've got kids, and they're the only photos in my wedding album that they're interested in seeing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't want to see any pictures of mummy and daddy kissing. They really don't care what we had on the tables.
Yeah.
What they want to see is, their cousins who were tiny at the time and are now, grown up and at university or in jobs. They just can't believe their cousins looking the same age. And we've got people that are in a group shot that sadly are not with us anymore, and so for us it's like, they just became more and more important. So I know it's not the cool and hip thing that you're necessarily going to want to see, but make sure you can see some on your photographer's site.
Make sure they offer that.
Yeah.
We actually had this question a couple of times.
Okay.
Should you give your photographer a list of important shots / things to capture? Are there any must-have photos we should ask for?
Don't make assumptions that things are going to happen. A good wedding photographer will be as good at communicating as they are at taking the photographs, so they will encourage you to communicate any needs that you have. At the same time, you don't necessarily need to give a professional wedding photographer a huge big list of things like
bride walking down the aisle, bride kissing.
All the things the set things that you're going to do. But if there are things you really do want, it's fine to request them.
Have you got any tips for us awkward ones who hate having our photos taken? How do we look relaxed and not end up pulling awkward faces when we're having our photo taken?
We're British, like we're all awkward in front of the camera, and I think easily 95% of the people that book me at some point pretty early on in the conversations will say, I hate having my photograph taken. So it's a big thing, and of course there are ways to help you feel less awkward. I found a lot of clients come to me because they say, your photography is really natural, and that always makes me laugh inside, because natural photographs would be my couple standing there going, God, we're here, I'm going to photograph. If you just say to a couple, oh, so just hug like you normally would.
I like you a little bit.
It's like, have you never touched? So one way I think is really good is if your photographer does a pre-wedding shoot. There are things that they can play around with, and they get to know you and see how you look when you photograph, see what you naturally do, get to know you. And there's just no time to do that on the wedding day. Then that can help get you over the awkward and the fear, and help create those natural photos. So it's fine. Again, it's part of your skill set as a photographer. If you're good, you will help people get out of awkward.
And on the day, most of the photos you do will not be standing in front of the camera posing. Most of the pictures will be taking photos of what's going on, so you don't really think about it. And then when you do go into your pictures,
it's so much easier on the wedding day.
Because you'll be like drunk and happy and in love. What kind of clients do you like the best? Who makes someone easy to work with?
I'm not the kind of photographer who's going for one specific type of client. At the heart of it, it's just, for me, I feel like I'm trying to tell you a love story, and not many people get married that are not in love, so that's all I really care about. Is you love each other, and if you happen to feel excited about photography as well, then that's even more of a bonus for me.
How do you choose a photographer and know if they are good / charging reasonable rates?
Whoa. Well, there's only one way to find out, isn't there?
Well, I would say good is subjective, first of all. Someone that you think has great photos, your friend might think are terrible.
God, yeah.
So you have to like the pictures yourself.
Yeah.
Speaking to people that have booked them before, looking at their website, looking at full galleries, making sure their editing style is consistent.
Yeah.
I think those are important things. In terms of whether they're reasonably priced, I mean, get different quotes from different people and see where they sit, but really, how long is a piece of string? Like, you can pay £1,000 for someone's really new, but they're really talented. You could be spending £3,000 for someone that's been in the industry for like 40 years and they're over it and they're going to do a crappy job.
Sadly, there is no guarantees. We all have things that we do again and again in terms of how we crop or how we pose people or work with people. You can get an expectation of what you're going to get by studying their work.
Are there any questions, any important questions that we should ask a photographer before we book?
Maybe the timescale and the payment system. So most of us will just take a percentage deposit and then just find out when you're expected to pay the balance. Good. I would definitely say try and find out what the realistic timescale is for you receiving the images. Ask them if they need to eat.
Oh, that's a good one. People need food.
I've definitely been at weddings where I just think, oh, hurry up, I just need to go home and get some toast. So it's in your interest to just ask your photographer if they are expecting to eat with you, and then just make that happen.
Most venues and catering companies will offer like a supplier meal. So it's like just the main course, or it's a less expensive option that the suppliers that already. So this might be a slightly contentious question. Why is wedding photography so expensive?
I guess if you're planning a wedding, you probably know that relatively everything is expensive and comes with a premium, and it is because your wedding photographer will go above and beyond what your friend or your uncle with a camera will do. And also, we then protect your images afterwards. So we're not going to be getting drunk, flinging ourselves around the dance floor with a memory card in our pocket, you know, so there's a certain amount of security that comes with it.
I would say that for me, doing what I do, the biggest regret I hear from brides after their wedding, if they don't like their photos, is like, I wish I'd just spent that extra £1,000. Like, beforehand it seems like a lot, but afterwards, if you get your pictures back and you don't like them because you've scrimped on them, or you've used someone that's quite new, then they always regret it. We weren't planning to have a photographer because of the budget, but it's coming up to the day, and now I'm thinking maybe we should. Is there anything we can do to get a good photographer with not a big budget?
Yeah, I mean, especially as you kind of left it quite late in the day, then there's probably photographers that you could approach and say, is there anything we can do, because it's quite late in the day and you're not really likely to get another booking. So I've always had a flexible pricing policy, and I'm sure other photographers do. I charge an hourly rate. Okay. So I have a minimum, and it's only 2 hours. So as long as it's at least 2 hours, and I have like a whole range of weddings booked in from 2 hours to 12 hours. So it's kind of up to you. So I let the client decide what's important to them. And so so don't necessarily feel like a photographer who you really like could be totally out of your budget, I would still approach them and just be totally honest. But yeah, if it's quite late, I think that's an advantage to be looking for a kind of deal in photography. If it's next August on a Saturday, no, I'm not going to do 2 hours coverage. But if it's in a few weeks, like you said, then yeah, I could possibly. If I'm free, I may as well go and shoot it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you really can't afford decent photography, one thing to do is approach a really good photographer that you like. You definitely can afford, but say instead of doing the wedding, is to do a shoot on a weekday with them. And even if people want to wear the wedding clothes and I do that with them, I'm totally happy with that. So you could still have the portrait shoot, and then look at a more budget option for the actual wedding day and all the things that you need photographed that day.
Yeah. Oh, this question breaks my heart. Okay, let's finish on this one.
Okay.
All right. Does your heart ever sink a little when you realise your clients aren't very attractive? This is a serious question. I often look at photographers' work online and think, well, we're never going to look that good. Oh, bless your heart.
Don't get bogged down by that. Don't let it put you off booking a photographer, okay? Because it's like, I've definitely heard that from people. They say, we weren't going to have a photographer because I'm just not very confident and I don't really like the way that I look. Well, he likes the way you look.
Right.
Because he's marrying you. Yeah. You know, so like that's it. And if I always try to ask my clients if there's anything about yourself in photographs that you see all the time that you don't like, and I can shoot away from that.
I'd also say that sometimes I'll take a photo or someone will take a photo of me and I'll look at it and I'll go, oh, that's horrible. And then I'll go back and look at it in 6 weeks' time and go, oh, actually, I look okay. And I think, like, I don't know, maybe your brain at that moment makes think you don't look good, but then when you're separated from it, I don't know what it is. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm actually going to post that. And also on your wedding day, you're going to be happy and glowing and, you know, in love. So it's not just like taking a picture down the pub, you know?
I know, and I think also we're used to kind of, you know, a phone or quick snap, and it's just one, you know, your wedding photographer is going to take hundreds and then they edit it for you. So that's a big part of our skill set as well, like what you're going to take out that people are never going to see.
Thank you, Lisa. That was excellent, very informative. We had loads of questions and we only didn't scratch the surface. So if you still have questions about wedding photography, do pop them in the comments and we'll try and go on. Do you have a YouTube account? Can you reply to comments?
I can, yes, I will.
Lisa will try and reply to your comments and I'll do the same. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this and I will see you next week. Bye!
Happy wedding!